Bonjour, mesdames, messieurs. Je m'appelle Peter Schoonjans et je suis responsable pour l'infrastructure informatique chez Airbus. Et peut-être vous pensez, il n'a pas de cravate, mais comme tout le monde en informatique a besoin d'un backup, moi j'ai la cravate en backup. Ça, c'est la partie en français. Le reste de la présentation, c'est en anglais. But I promise to keep it simple and hopefully even a little bit entertaining. So let's go to the presentation. There we are. So, Airbus. I think everybody knows Airbus, so I don't have to say too much about that. I just want to mention two things that are important for the rest of the presentation. One thing is that we are in a special market situation. We have a 9-year backlog. That means the more aircraft we deliver, the more money we make, because all of our aircraft are sold many years in advance. The second thing that is very important is that we are basically an engineering company, very highly engineered products, and therefore it's very important that we are able to catch the best talents, the best engineers. So typically in our main countries like France and Germany, we are on the top list of preferred employer for engineers and also some other professions. But it is for us the future. So these are two important elements also for the rest of the presentation. Okay, these are a lot of figures that are just there to demonstrate that the IT infrastructure in Airbus is big. Okay, so I'm not going to bore you with more numbers. It's big. Okay. Now a little bit about the open source history in Airbus. We started pretty early. This was in 2008 when we started promoting the use internally of open source software, but it was very modest. And not too many people were jumping on it because they were not so sure if we really mean it or if this was just trying to be politically correct. So in the years after, you see things going up very slowly, and of course Linux was the obvious one that grew a lot in the years before 2015. Then in 2015 we said, if we want to be serious about this, we need to do it more actively, we need to promote it, and we need to push it. And also, this was about a time that it became clear to everybody that in many areas, if you want to be innovating, you have to go to the open source, because the open source solution in many of these areas, like big data, etc., is the most innovating one that you can get. So these things came together, and basically what we did was we used a specific case, the fact that we had difficulty in completing our implementation of IT service management tools, where we moved to a small open source solution called iTop to speed up our implementation. But this was not the main target. The main target was to have a good example that we could use to promote internally the use of open source, to show everybody that it was serious, and to start unlocking general advantages of using open source, like being able to be more innovating, like being able to move faster, and like being able to reduce some vendor lock-in that everybody who comes from a big company knows all too well. So our secondary target was to boost the use of open source software. And our third target, and this is the most important one, and it was discussed also in the beginning of during the opening, is the open way of working. And this is essential. When I said before, for a company like Airbus, we need to have the best talents, we need to have the best engineers. Yes, but if you want to get these people, and if you want to retain them, and if you want to keep them motivated, you have to let them work in a different way. If you let them work in an over-hierarchic way, where they feel like they are the little wheel in the machine somewhere at the bottom, the good ones are not going to stay very long. They're either going to be disappointed or they're just going to leave. So the open way of working is essential to many companies and definitely to a company like Airbus. Now, the open way of working, I mean, there are many definitions of this. The one that we use is to focus on transparency. Transparency kills waste. I mean, how many IT projects don't you know that have generated enormous cost because the problems became apparent only too late in the project? This is something that you can fix with transparency. Everybody makes mistake, but if you see them early, you can fix them for low cost. Collaboration, we all know it in big companies. There is the tendency to silos, and we need to have our people give the opportunity to them to work more across organizational boundaries. Then empowerment is a very important one that was discussed already before. People need to have the feeling that they can decide something, that what they choose makes a difference, and they should not be blocked by X layers of bureaucracy and hierarchy that is slowing the things down. And sharing is also very important. In the past, big parts of companies could think internally. Now, almost every part of the company has to work with external partners and has to do that in a sharing way that we are not used to, because we are all afraid to share information. But we just have to accept that if you want to move fast, and moving fast is the future in this world, you have to share information. So sitting on the information, maybe you don't lose intellectual property, but your competitor will be first, and he will outcompete you. So to push that a little bit more, after the example of IT service management with ITOP, we decided to reuse the formula, and we decided to make what we call IT startups. Now, what is an IT startup is a bunch of volunteers who go out of their regular job and work on a very specific mission. But the only thing that is specific about it is the mission. This is the result that we want. And all the rest is just endless freedom. That's the objective of the IT startup. So we look for people who want to be able to do more, who feel that they can do more than being just the little wheel. This is the kind of volunteers that we look for. We give them a clear end result that we want. So this is not research or experimentation. We know exactly the end result that we want. But we leave absolute freedom in how to achieve this end result. So it's on a voluntary basis, it's independent of the line organization, maximum freedom in the way of working for the highest motivation and for a faster and better result, maximum empowerment. It is not without accountability. The team is fully accountable for the result, but we tell them, if you fail, fail early, okay? Make sure you don't sit on stuff that you know it won't work, but you're afraid to tell us. We know you're working on something that can fail, but fail early, because then, because we give these people also a bag of money, you still have some money left to try it in a different way. So fail safe is very important in that. And the work in the team is not based on hierarchy, but is based on natural leadership within the team. Okay? You always have people who are a little bit more in the leadership role. You have people who are more in a technical role, and so on. And it fits in a natural way. So we have 3 startups that we made as an experiment. The first one comes out of this original one with the IT service management tools. So it's called IT service tools. The second one is called AirCloud, Airbus AirCloud. And this is about developing and providing and a hybrid cloud based on OpenStack. And the third one is ICT monitoring. We have a lot of monitoring in the infrastructure, in the applications, but we are not so good in putting the things together. So when we have problems, when we have outages, there is a lot of debate going back and forth. Where does it come from? Where is the real root cause? And so on. So the ICT monitoring is aimed at making sure we discover it as early as possible, and we can pinpoint exactly this is where you have to work on, because this is where is the root cause. So these are the 3 startups. The IT service tool startup is the oldest one. It runs very well, and it gets continuously new things added to the mission. So the first one was to move faster in our automation of our operation with the IT service management tools. The second thing that was added to the mission was user-centric support. You know, in a big company with a lot of history, you have thousands of applications. And all of this over the course of the years becomes like a little bit of a spaghetti. So for the user, it's not so obvious when he needs something or when something is not working, where does he have to go? So traditionally what you do service desk and you have a bunch and you have hundreds of people trying to direct the user in this spaghetti. What we do with the user-centric support is we bring a simplification from the point of the user to a self-service portal, because at the end of the day, people don't want to call a help desk. They want to solve their problem immediately. So in this user-centric support, we increase that what can be done by self-service, and to make the contact, if needed, with the service desk even faster. We are live with this user-centric portal. We have huge success there, a lot of visits, and people are solving their own the problem that they have or the issue that they have more and more in a self-service modus. This was the second thing that we have added, and also this portal is based on open source tools. So and then the third mission of this IT startup is to promote the use of open source. So as we also have a very huge engineering population that is also working a lot on IT tools, you know that in an aircraft there is also a lot of IT, the fly-by-wire, the avionics, etc. So we have organized, Nikolai, who is by the way here, from this IT startup, has organized an open source contest in the company. And we have a lot of people bringing in their projects, and they come from everywhere. They come from IT, they come from engineering, they come from customer service. So all these shy things that have been done a little bit in the back are now showing up and starting to blossom. The second one is, as I said, the Air Cloud startup. It's based on OpenStack. It is working for internal deployments. So we can, as many people said here, now you can deploy an infrastructure for an application in minutes. Well, this is the same thing. And by the end of the year, we will have also the hybrid part. That means we will be able to also deploy in the same way and manage in a consistent way loads and applications to at least Amazon Web Service and one or two additional ones. So in the discussion whether we should do the cloud internally or hybrid or whatever, my personal opinion is a player like Amazon you cannot ignore. They set what is the state of the art. And I think every company has a number of applications that are very suited due to the characteristics to be hosted on Amazon. And if you do that, you don't have to do everything, you do a part, but you are in touch with the state of the art, because they are moving so fast that you have at least a feeling for this. Then the ICT monitoring startup is also using open source tools to connect the different kind of monitoring, and to put them in relationship with each other. So Red Hat at Airbus, we have a number of things going on for the moment. We have a pilot going on with OpenShift. Everybody has been talking here about OpenShift. I mean, the container and Docker, it's clear that there is a big potential for that. We're all trying to figure out, I think, how far just can we go with the containers, but it's a very interesting topic, and we are experimenting also with it. And our first experiment is to transition 150 PHP applications to OpenShift. Then we are starting also with these business rules management systems, rules that we are going to add to the user-centric support. You know what I mentioned about the self-service for the user. And with these business rules, we can have more cases where we can direct to a self-service solution. And we are piloting with Ansible. And there is one thing I would like to say more about working with Red Hat. I would like to tell you what I like about working with Red Hat. I can work in an open and in a constructive way about how the solutions from Red Hat can help me with what I want to achieve. And I don't have to watch my back if somebody is going to stab in my back with a small print of the contract. And this is very important to me. And when I have obsolete server on Red Hat, I have to pay a little bit more because it's obsolete. But there is some kind of correlation between the increased cost for Red Hat to support obsolete versions and what I have to pay. So I accept that. But when I have an obsolete server from Microsoft, the maintenance fees goes ballistic to the galaxy, and there is no correlation at all to the increased cost. It's just like a punishment. Okay? So now I think a lot of people here know that obsolescence is a tough cookie to crack, and we're all working on it every day. So the last thing I need is, in this daily battle of obsolescence, a supplier behind me to punish me. Okay? That's what I like about working with Red Hat. Okay? Now something else that is maybe a little bit out of place in this environment, but I still think it is important. We are talking about infrastructure as a service. We're talking about platform as a service. What I see happening in Airbus, what I see happening with other companies, is that the real play field is becoming more and more the software as a service. Software as a service is becoming more and more attractive to a lot of companies, including big companies. I mean, just look at how many companies have gone to ServiceNow for their support processes in the last few years. So the place of discussion has changed a little bit. You know, are you hosting internally or are you hosting with Amazon? Yeah, but your internal customers, they really want something else. They want the whole application to move fast, not just the infrastructure behind it. And they are being tempted by this software as a service because they are being told it goes very fast, you can start immediately, we have everything ready, you don't have to worry about your IT department anymore, the cost is clear, and so on. So there are many things like that. I mean, the king of the software as a service is Salesforce, Salesforce.com. And you know, you told the success story about Red Hat, a market capitalization of 13 billion. Well, you know, Salesforce.com has a market capitalization of 50 billion. And in their entire life, they have never made any year a single profit. So the expectations on software as a service are enormous. And we might all have nice solution with a platform as a service, But maybe our internal customers are going to tell us, but we don't need any of this because we do the entire application in a software as a service. So it is very tempting. And some of this is a real temptation. There is no reality behind. Because what is hidden is, for example, the integration cost. What is hidden is that business functions are tempted by the fact that it goes very fast. And they are tempted that they don't have to wait for customization, because customization is not possible. But then they will have to adapt all their processes to what is coming out of the box in the software as a service. And I feel that there is a place for open source exactly on this playing field, which I would like to call an alternative to software as a service. In this case, it's just by coincidence. I put here service now. The stuff that we are doing with the ITSM, I really don't compare with Remedy anymore. I compare with ServiceNow, because I think this is where is the playing field. But there are many areas where software as a service is coming, where it is possible to find good open source alternative, where you have the option to tailor it to your business process, and where you can have a better cost control because you have no lock-in. This is, I think, where the story is a little bit going, and where there is a new place for the open source in the years to come. So, to conclude, I would like to show you all of the stuff that I explained about the IT startups and why we do with open source and so on. Why this fits so well into the company targets. And the best way to do it is to compare with the ambitions and objectives of the digital program that was launched, I think now almost 2 years ago, by Tom Enders. The ambitions were, first of all, high employee engagement. So this is about people. Then it is about digital operational excellence. As I told you, all of our aircraft are sold. We can produce them faster, we make more money. So this operational excellence is all about speed. Turning product data into insight and capturing end user experience is smarter ways to use all the data that are available from aircraft and from what our customers are doing into a better customer experience and more efficiency for our direct customers, the airlines. This is an innovation on the use of data and software. And business agility is again about speed. So if I take just the keywords of this, I see people and motivation, I see speed, I see innovation. Now, here we try to show a little bit how the stuff fits together on the open source, what we try to do with Airbus. As I explained, our real target is to open up, to work more transparent, to have more collaboration, more sharing, and empowerment. Innovation is clear. Everybody knows in the meantime, in a lot of areas, you want to be innovating. The open source product is the most innovating one in more and more areas. And you can focus on the added value. You can focus on working together with your partners without having to worry about a small print in the contract, so no vendor lock-in. This leads to more motivation, which was the first thing in the digital ambition. It leads to more speed and more agility, because the open way works faster, the open source works faster, and engaged people produce result faster when they are empowered. Leads to secure solutions because there is a transparency, and leads to reducing cost. Oops, okay. And this is why it supports the company objectives, both in competitiveness and in digitalization. This concludes my presentation. I thank you very much.